Hi, my name is Dr. Arnold and I'm a dentist in Lancashire. One question that I get time and time again from dental students or newly qualified graduates is, how does income as a dentist actually work? What changes it? What might increase it? What might decrease it? And hopefully in this video I get to address that for you using the past few years of my own personal experience. So, some of the main things that can start to affect income are things like if you're away on holiday. As a self-employed dentist, if you're not working, you don't get paid, so that will naturally decrease your income. Something that might also decrease it is if you are in a Christmas period, let's say, or holiday season, where many people aren't really coming to a dental practice. That will also affect the income in a big way. Now, one of the biggest things that's been happening with myself is I've been transitioning, or I have transitioned from being a fully NHS dentist to being a fully private dentist. And then I also had the change of being an incorporated company, so having a limited company, and also working in a squat practice, a practice that's started from scratch, and now also being in the position of now starting my own dental practice. So I'm just going to share with you how that's actually affected income as a result, and hopefully that can help you start to understand one of the biggest reasons why you may see fluctuations in your income. So what I'm going to do is just give you a breakdown of how income has changed from March 22 all the way to July 2023. So that's going to be showing when I was an NHS dentist, when I was transitioning to a squat private practice, and then how things have been since I've fully been within the private practice. So in March 2022, I was still in the mixed practice, and at that time, through the NHS, I earned 5.2 thousand. That then decreased to 1.3 thousand after deductions, after splits with the practice, which is a normal thing. In terms of private, my private income was actually quite significant at that time, at 21.7 thousand privately, and then after deductions, that came down to 10.2 thousand. So when you add all of that up, the actual take home was 11.5 thousand after deductions. You have to remember though that you still have to pay tax on that, so that's not all disposable income. But after the deductions with the practice, with bills, lab bills, and materials, that sort of thing, it came up to 11.5 thousand for March 2022. For April 2022, it was 2,800 through the NHS, which dropped down to 1.4 thousand after deductions and splits. Privately, it was 19.5 thousand, but that then dropped down to 6.5 thousand after all the deductions and splits, and then that left 7.9 thousand pounds, which was the take-home pay, and again, still tax and all that to be deducted after. So at this point, April, May, June, the decision had been made to now close off treatments at the mixed practice I was working at, and to now start to look at making the move to the squat practice, the squat private practice. So what I'm going to do is just talk through what that looked like now, making that transition to the squat practice. So June 22, NHS was 2,000, and after splits it was 600. Privately, income was 15.4 thousand pounds, and after deductions 5.5 thousand. So that take home there was 6.1 thousand. July was NHS 1.8 thousand. Privately, it was 21.1 thousand. After deductions, 5.9 thousand. So a lot of lab bills there, probably a lot of Invisalign lab bills. And in the end, the take home for July 22 was 7.7 thousand. the month that I'd moved into the squat private practice, I still had some NHS payments from previous months that had been completed. So it was 1.5 thousand there, which after deductions ended up being 500. Privately, it was 10.2 thousand, which ended up after deductions being 5.6 thousand. So for August, where I'm now working in the new practice, it was 6.1 thousand take home. Now that's very different from March 22, where it was 11.5 thousand, because now I've stepped into the new practice and building up a list from scratch. So from August 2022 to April, I was building up the books at the new squat private practice. And what I found was, having the books open for 5 days a week wasn't being productive because, the diaries were very gappy, very patchy. So what I decided to do was to end up working 3 days at the new private practice and then have another associate position for 2 days a week in a different practice. So I was just looking at ways I could maximize or be more productive with my time. So what I'll tell you now is what was happening when I started working between the two different practices going forwards. So May 23, at the squat practice, it was 18.1 thousand. After deductions, 6,000. Practice number 2, it was 17.3 thousand. After deductions, 7.7 thousand. So the take home there was 13.7 thousand. Now practice 2 is an established practice, so I didn't have to build up a list from scratch. There were already patients to fill the books, and that's why the figures are very similar there. In June 2023, at the squat private practice, it was 20.9 thousand, and then after deductions, 6.2 thousand. Practice 2, it was 27.8 thousand, and after deductions, 11.2 thousand. So overall, it was 17.8 thousand, which was take home. July 23, again, the squat practice, it was 19.5 thousand. After deductions, 7.2 thousand. Practice 2, it was 28.2 thousand. After deductions, 9.3 thousand. So an overall take-home pay of 16.5 thousand. And again, that's not all disposable income because you still have to pay tax before you get to the final amount you can actually spend for your day-to-day. But one thing I learned there was the fact that having a lot of gaps and spaces in your diary really affects income in a big way. Having a booked out diary where you're productive with treatments, that's always going to provide more income. And I saw that especially when I started at practice number 2, where it was established and there were patients ready to book in, that at practice number 2, the income was able to rise above the squat practice very quickly because there were patients there waiting for treatment to be carried out. So hopefully that's given some insight if you're newly qualified dentist or somebody who's thinking about transitioning from NHS into becoming fully private. If you have any questions or anything that you want to know a little bit more about, let me know in the comments and I'll see if I can make a video to address that. I'll see you guys at the next video.